Greetings. I'm Philip M. Bailey, national political correspondent with USA Today. 4 years ago, USA Today's editorial board broke tradition and for the first time took sides in a presidential race. The board urged readers not to vote for Donald Trump, but stopped short of an outright endorsement of Hillary Clinton. This time, however, the editorial board is unanimously supporting the election of Joe Biden. Members of the board, an ideologically and racially diverse group, are joining me to discuss their first ever endorsement. How y'all doing?
Good, thanks. Good. Thanks for doing this with us.
No problem. Why now? Why did the board feel the need to do this for the first time, an outright direct endorsement of a candidate for president?
Well, thanks, Philip. There are two main reasons we did this. One, we're trying to have an impact. Hopefully, we can persuade the few people out there who are still persuadable that Joe Biden is the better choice than Donald Trump. The second reason is as a statement of our core values as an editorial board. For almost 4 decades, we've stood for honesty, accountability, civility in public discourse, anti-racism, common ground solutions to the nation's problems, and strong support for the First Amendment. And these should be nonpartisan values. But President Trump has trampled on all those values, and we're confident that Joe Biden would respect them.
I mean, we're seeing a president here who can't, during a debate, denounce white supremacy. We have people protesting on the streets about George Floyd. We have, in addition to legitimate protesters, rioters. And this is a president who can't seem to distinguish between which is which and figure out when to deploy troops or when not to deploy troops. He's using, violent tactics against legitimate protesters. So there are also values that we as a board hold sacred. It's our value that racism is not okay. And that if a president can't denounce white supremacy, it seems like it's time to step forward and say something about that.
Conservative readers often cite concerns about liberal bias in the media. What about those who say this is just another example of the media elite trying to tell us how to vote? We voted for Donald Trump. We want to support him for re-election. Who are you to tell us who to vote for?
I am one of those frustrated conservative readers, and USA Today's editorial board has several conservative members. We didn't come to Washington to be the elite to endorse Democrats for president. We've been put in this situation where we have a president who invited foreign nations to interfere in our politics, turned the White House into a sideshow, failed to mount an effective response to COVID, and threatens the very continuation of our democracy and threatens our Constitution.
I see myself as a former war refugee and now with a responsibility with a national newspaper. I was 9 years old when my family fled Saigon after the Vietnam War. And officially, we were leaving communism. We didn't want to live under communism. But part of the big reason why we lost the war was South Vietnam, the regime was full of corrupt, selfish leaders who was taking care of themselves and not taking care of this or caring about the suffering of their people. We're losing this war against COVID.
But in a lot of ways, we're having exactly the same experience as other people. For instance, my children live in California and Utah, and we haven't seen them since Christmas. We can't. It's very tough, as anyone with family far away can tell you. This affects us in many ways the way it affects all of Americans. I think there's a lot of people who haven't seen their families in a long time. So there is that aspect to it, and I really would like to emphasize that.
I'm certainly not elite. I come from a single parent household. My mother was a teacher. I've grown up only knowing about working hard and trying to better ourselves. And at this time in our country, we all need to join together and unite and try to fix these problems. COVID, the economy, we have natural disasters on our hands. There's so much going on at this point. It's not about media elite. It's not about who's elite, who's not. It's about being Americans.
Part of what we also value are reader opinions. So what we did was we went out and we got man on the street videos. We were asking people, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? We wanted to get a slice of middle America, not what people consider the coastal elites. And a lot of people said that they aren't better off.
Let me throw you a curveball here for everyone. And Bill, let me start with you. This is obviously the first time you've ever endorsed as an editorial board a particular candidate. In 2016, you urged people not to vote for Trump and didn't necessarily outright endorse Hillary Clinton. Do you regret that? Is there any regrets that maybe you missed it, maybe you blew it in 2016 and should have told folks to vote for another candidate rather than now President Trump? Any regrets there?
Well, Philip, the editorial board operates by consensus. And in 2016, we had a unanimous consensus to say, don't vote for Trump. We did not, however, have a consensus to take that extra step and outrightly endorse Hillary Clinton. There was a division on the board on that question. I think the editorial will stand the test of time and history. If you reread it from 2016, much of what we said and predicted about a Trump presidency has come true.
I don't know if we could have swayed any votes, but I certainly, look at what happened in states like Michigan, where Jill Stein, a third-party candidate, got enough votes to tilt the state away from Hillary Clinton. You kind of think about these third-party candidates and our recommendation to please vote, 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 vote. Just don't vote for Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton was a uniquely scandalous figure in American politics on the Democratic side, and that's the reason that we didn't endorse her. Joe Biden is a completely different figure. He's a consensus builder. He has built a career in Washington as somebody who works with both sides and is not constantly at the center of scandals. It's a completely different question.
We asked people to vote their conscience in that 2016 editorial. And so everybody should have voted their conscience. Look into your conscience now.
What's different this year is that we have a body of work. We can look at President Trump and say, this is what he's done. This is not what he's done for America. We can all look and ask ourselves internally, are we better off as a country than we were 4 years ago? I think the answer has to be no, we are not.
For all of you, as a final question, do you think this endorsement by the editorial board of USA Today will affect the coverage of USA Today or any media organization for that matter in the 2020 presidential campaign?
Absolutely not. The editorial page operates separately from the news staff. So this editorial will not affect what readers see on our news pages and online in USA Today. I should also say that if Biden is elected, it does not mean the editorial board will pull any punches where we think he's going in the wrong direction.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.